Hello everyone, my name is Samir Khan and today I'll be presenting my current topic presentation for this class. My topic is Do Muslim Women Need Saving? This was actually tied to our week 7 module where we talked about women creating spaces of empowerment, and we also discussed our article by Laila Abu Lagoud, which critiques the narratives of quote-unquote saving Muslim women. I am Muslim myself, and so this was a little bit personal for me. So this is why I guess this is something that we've talked about throughout the semester that stuck out to me the most, and this is something I wanted to touch upon. So what exactly is my topic? Like I mentioned, the article that we used in class, Do Muslim Women Really Need Saving? It essentially dives into how Western perspectives often misrepresent Muslim women as oppressed and in need of some sort of rescue. Especially after 9/11, this idea was amplified to justify U.S. intervention in places like Afghanistan under the guise of basically liberating women. But you realize that empowerment, it isn't a universal concept. It's something that's shaped by history, culture, personal values. And today I want to challenge those stereotypes, and I want to show how basically empowerment can look very different depending on the context that you're given. So this idea that Muslim women need saving comes from Western cultural superiority, basically. It portrays that Muslim women as, helpless victims, ignoring their voices, their agency, and even their cultural practices. Take veiling, for example. It's often misunderstood as a symbol of oppression. When I refer to veiling, I'm referencing, like when Muslim women wear the hijab or like the burqa to cover themselves and basically protect themselves. And this is, for many Muslim women, is something that represents modesty, respect, and even, their own personal identity. But it kind of can be taken in the wrong context by some and seen as, a way of oppression. And I think that perspective really ignores the complexity of their lives and kind of reduces them to just a stereotype. Next thing I want to talk about is the relevance of this topic. So this topic remains a very relevant issue even today because the saving narrative fuels the misconceptions and can even, lead to Islamophobia. For example, media portrayals still focus on Muslim women as oppressed, while policy debates like hijab bans highlight deeper issues of cultural misunderstanding. We can even consider France's hijab ban for athletes in the 2024 Paris Olympics, which, while it claims to promote religious neutrality, critics often argued that it was something that violated their freedom of expression and kind of disproportionately targets Muslim women. This shows how these narratives don't just really affect perceptions, they have real-world consequences. Meanwhile, Muslim women are leading empowerment movements worldwide. Organizations like Rawa in Afghanistan, they're working on education and healthcare initiatives, proving that change often comes from within their community. So, it kind of goes to show that like Muslim women are 100% capable and they're 100% doing absolutely amazing things in the world. Now I just wanted to give some further insight. So as I mentioned earlier, veiling is often misunderstood. For many, it kind of carries a significant cultural and personal meaning, yet Western narratives kind of at times can reduce it to a symbol of oppression, missing its deeper significance. And I also want to touch upon how Rawa, which is the Revolutionary Association of Women of Afghanistan, it's kind of a great example of how empowerment looks different depending on the context. So they focus on grassroots efforts like education and healthcare, showing that essentially change comes from within, not from external saving. And now I would like to revisit, something I mentioned earlier, which was the hijab ban at the 2024 Olympics. Which, France, like I said, argued that it was basically something that aligned with their policies of religious neutrality. But organizations like Amnesty International strongly criticize this policy for violating international human rights. This situation raises really important questions about cultural diversity, feminism, and the autonomy of Muslim women to define their own identities. It reminds us how deeply these issues truly affect freedom and self-expression in even today's world, which is why I wanted to touch upon that once more. And basically, just to summarize, Laila Abu Lagoud's article critiques the saving Muslim women narrative and basically shows how it continues colonial attitudes in a way, instead of focusing on practices like veiling, which distract from larger systemic issues like poverty and inequality. I think that she argues she argues that real empowerment is something that must come from within communities. And when we were talking about that during that specific module, that kind of really spoke to me. This basically challenges Western feminism to respect cultural and religious diversity, I think, and also to rethink how we as a whole define empowerment. And then lastly, these are just some of my sources that I've cited. So a lot of this was based on the Abu Lughos article that we talked about in class. And also there was I think a resource where I looked up information about the 2024 Paris Olympics hijab ban. So if you'd like to explore this topic further, I highly recommend these sources. I really appreciate everyone for listening, and I'd love to hear your thoughts about anything that I may have shared. And thank you all for your time.